Welcome back to Light Beyond the Ashes, the podcast where science meets spirituality and awakening becomes embodied. I'm your host, Amber Humphrey. What happens when life cracks you open so wide that you have no choice but to rise from the rubble? Stronger, softer, and more you than ever before. Today's guest, Jen Ebenezer, known on TikTok as Above Average Jen, is one of my spiritual besties and one of the most radiant souls that I know. We dive deep into the mother wound, awakening through divorce and medical emergencies, and rebirth, and how she found her way back home to herself through sound healing, intuition, poetry, and sisterhood. Jen is the heart and mama of our soul tribe, a woman whose presence reminds us that healing isn't about perfection, it's about permission. Her vision for the Audacity Academy will empower generations of young girls and women to reclaim their voices, trust their intuition, and rise unapologetically into their power. This episode is joyful, real, and overflowing with resonance. So breathe with us, feel with us. You're about to meet the woman who proves that when we choose healing, we change everything. Welcome back to Light Beyond the Ashes. This is the podcast where we talk about all things spiritual. Science meets plasma, meets frequency. But this one, I really feel like you guys are going to love because I feel like my next guest, Jen Ebenezer, you might know her as Above Average Jen from TikTok. We call her Mama Jimmy in our spiritual bestie group, but she brings the heart. And I feel like this woman is just everybody's mom. And she's just this incredible powerhouse of a soul who has become a writer. And her words have inspired thousands and thousands of people, one day, millions and millions of people. And I'm so excited for you to be here, Jen. And I know that we're both working through a fear door of speaking our truth openly. And so welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here. I'm so proud of you. I'm so excited that you had the blueprint to go first for us and start the podcast thing. I'm just beyond blessed and excited and honored to be here with you.
Thank you so much. And I don't think I ever get here without you ladies from the Spiritual Bestie crew. And I remember being, in Indianapolis, just watching you and Ashley and Jesse in the corner, like just giggling, like, we did it, we did it. And so we'll dive into what the Spiritual Bestie mindset is and this group, this tribe has become. But first, tell the world a little bit about who you are. How did we get
Okay.
here?
Oof, I am Jen, or to you guys, Mama Jimmy. And it's been a journey. It's been a long road to get here. And I think that when we talk about the journey, it was going on a lot longer than any of us were conscious of.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I have a poet soul, is what I like to say. I see things in a lot of textures and a lot of depth, and I have a deep, deep feeling. Um, and I think we all have that in common. And it's so incredible to see every really deep feelers also experiencing things completely differently from one another. But to me, it all comes together like a rainbow to me. We're all shades of the same thing, but
Mm-hmm.
together we're a lot more powerful than any of us are individually. And I think that's so beautiful to watch.
That's so wonderful. I mean, I feel like we are just different fractals of light. And I talk about
Hmm.
this a lot of how we're one of the same, but we're a beautiful mosaic kind of coming together in different broken ways, but come back when you put it all together, it's just beautiful. So were you always a spiritually awakened person? Were
No.
you always like very tied to this? Or did you have a regular schmegular job like all the rest of the people I've interviewed and then you just like popped open? What was it like for you?
So I spent a lot of years actually as a 911 dispatcher. And so I was taking a lot of emergency calls for a long time. I did that. I really loved that job. And now when I look back on it, I understand why Spirit had me there and some of the
Mhm.
calls I took and what I was doing. I see it all differently than I did then. And then I spent a lot of years in logistics and working with trucking and dispatch and that kind of thing. Um, and then one day in 2018, I remember pulling my car over and being like, I cannot do this anymore. I can't sit in a cubicle anymore.
Mhm.
It felt like a cage to me. I was like, I cannot do this anymore.
Mhm.
And I was always a prayer. I was always talking, but back then it was my grandma Pat is who I've considered my guardian angel the whole time. So when I would pull over or whatever, it would be to her, and I'd be like, "What are we doing? Why am I doing this? Like, I just feel like my potential is being wasted, you know." So I'd have these talks with grandma, right? and then,
Yep.
um, and then from that moment on, a series of events just like it was a snowball effect. And just a couple months after that, I literally had to quit work because I was pregnant with my daughter, and she was positioned in such a way that she was pinching a nerve in my back, and I literally couldn't sit in a desk chair anymore. And just the series of events and everything that
Oh, yeah.
unfolded, it reminds me now, like, be careful what you pray for, because once you
Yes.
want, like, you don't get to control how it happens, you just get where you're going, and that was a lot. So when I think about that, so that was 2018. My ex-husband now, but we got married in February of that year. And um, a couple weeks later, I was just so tired. I was already older. I think I was 37. Oh no, I
Uh-huh.
must have been 39 years old. And I was just so tired. I could not figure out why I couldn't recover from what I thought was our wedding. And I was on my lunch break at work. I was going to get soup in my car, and this is right in the same time range where I had the pull over, talk to grandma thing. But all of a sudden, a voice happened, clear audience, right? And said, "Well, you're pregnant." And I was like, "No, no, I'm not." Like, absolutely, I'm not. And the voice was like, "You're pregnant. Go get a pregnancy test." And I was like, "No way." Like, no way. And so I go to CVS, I get the pregnancy test, I go back to work, it comes back negative immediately. And
Uh-huh.
I was like, "Oh, okay."
Phew.
And then the voice was like, now that voice is with me all the time.
Mhm.
But back then it was new. And the voice is so loving, but has a good sense of humor, you know? And was like, "Well, you just drank too much water today, but you're pregnant." And I was like, "There's no way." So I go home at 4 in the morning. I get up the next day. I take a pregnancy test and I'm pregnant. And I don't know how to tell you why that voice didn't wake me up the way I'm woke up now, because that's strange, right? But
Yeah.
anyway, I was pregnant. And then the series of events that happened after that, it turns out I got pregnant on our wedding night. And then the things that happened after that just started unfolding until we got here today. And it's been nothing short of wild, like just crazy. But you know how it is. Once you get here, you wouldn't change it. But as you're going through
No.
it, everything's getting uprooted. And it was
Yeah,
a
I will say
very
I love
big journey.
yeah, understatement of the year. Like, you're talking this is my sole mission is to wake up and remember when I have been completely under the illusion of amnesia and fear and thinking that there's not another way out. I mean, those early days for me when I was, like, first starting to hear a voice, that clairaudience, and I've talked about this before, is that way we have our main senses, but there's the senses that we're not really quite familiar with, and clairaudience is your ability to hear,
Hmm.
and you're hearing your higher self. Maybe you're hearing the voice of God. Maybe you're hearing a guardian angel. You're hearing different beings and they do sound differently and they do have a sense of humor. Oh my God, if they didn't have a sense of humor, I wouldn't have survived. Like they tell me a lot that I'm as stubborn as an ox. And I'm like, my husband would verify that fact. like I want to do it so much my way to where it's like, stop, just let go of the control and this voice that guides you. Did you find that you kept hearing that voice throughout the next few years? Was it just like an unfolding?
Yeah. So there's just like a few nights I can tell you about in those first couple of years. And like, so then in 2019, or sorry, in 2020, during the whole thing,
Yeah.
I was pregnant with Oliver, my second child. And I was so deeply uncomfortable the night before he was born, just so uncomfortable, so pregnant, so whatever. And I heard that same voice say, "It's your last night pregnant. Like, just try to get comfortable, try to be okay. He's coming tomorrow." And I was like, "Okay." So that was fine with me. I was like, "Okay, one more night, my last night pregnant, you know." And at that time, like I said, I was an older mom, so I was 42 at that time. And then So I go to the doctor in the morning, and the doctor is like, "We're gonna wait another week, blah 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 blah." And I was like, "No, we're not. He's being born today." And he's like, "What are you talking about?" And I was like, "Literally, God told me last night, you know." And him and my husband at the time were like,
Mm.
"You're very pregnant and very hormonal and very, you know." And I'm like, "I'm serious. Like,
Mhm.
he's getting born today. Like, what are we doing?" And the doctor sent me home. And I went in the parking lot, I just stopped. I was like, "I am telling you, we're having this baby today," to my husband at the time. I'm
Mhm.
like, I know it, you know? And then, sure enough, 5 o'clock that night, my water broke and we were back at the hospital. And the doctor was like, "How did you do that?" And I was like, I told you I knew. And that's, as you get further in this thing, and now I'm extremely awake. I hear it all the time. You know what I mean? I'm tapped in now. But that's what knowing really is. I think people think that
Mhm.
knowing and remembering means like we're able to prove it in some way, and we
Yeah.
are just not. It's not something you can prove. It's just something you know. It's something you deeply know and you deeply feel. And that is a hard thing to explain to people that don't resonate with how that is, because I don't know how to have told anybody that I was going to have Oliver that day. I just knew. You know what I mean? It's just,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's what the
I think
knowing is.
it's so crazy because that's the claircognizance part. The knowing is the claircognizance. And so for the novel listener who has never really like heard of the clairs before, like when you know something, it is an overwhelming sensation. Like it is something I can't move past. And like how the doctor and your husband are like, okay, you're just pregnant. Like there's these moments where you're like, no, you have to hear me. You have to listen to me. And what's funny for me is that I don't really talk about this too much. I haven't actually talked about it at all on the podcast. But in 2020, I knew that the whole world was going to shut down. Like the
Oh,
whole world was going to shut down months and months ahead of time. Like I was getting told like something's big's coming. Prepare, prepare, prepare. And so I started preparing my company in February of 2020 to be closed by March. And that was like no one else was really talking about America full blown shutting down. And I was like, nope, it's going to happen. And here's our exit strategy. And here's our reentry strategy. And here's what's going to happen. And then, oh, by the way, we're probably not going to get paid. So I'm going to do this and this and this. And it's going to work out. I promise it's going to look real crazy, but it's going to work out. Then I'm on a bachelorette trip with my sister-in-law, my sister and her friends. And we're on Bourbon Street. And Bourbon Street is like just popping. It's crazy. It's spring break week, everything, right? And I go, y'all are not going to go back to school on Monday. And they're like, oh, ha, ha, ha. Yes, we are. I'm like, no, you're not. And then that Friday of spring break, the country shut down and said, we're not
hmm.
returning to school to work on Monday. And I was like, told ya. But it wasn't something that I inherently just knew. I was a message I was being told, but it was really hard to articulate that. And
Yeah.
then when I was, I'm in pediatric therapy and we were told that in therapy wasn't going to be covered, like by telehealth, it wasn't going to be covered. And I was like, no, I have a calling. I'm going to do this. And so I got in touch with like the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid through Lizzie Fletcher, Congresswoman Lizzie Fletcher's office. I went to the Health and Human Services. Like we fought tooth and nail. And in 2020, because of the legislation that I helped to create and sponsor with Lizzie Fletcher and others, we got telehealth covered for the entire nation. People didn't lose their jobs. People
It's
kept their
amazing.
coverage. And at my clinic, we ended up seeing the best gains because kids could get therapy every day of the week because parents were home doing therapy with them. And so that knowing can really serve you when you
Oh,
lean all the way in and you're like, I know I'm going to be like crazy person, like how Noah was probably crazy that a flood is coming and there's no rain. And then the flood comes and you're like, oh, I'm really glad I have a boat.
yeah. I think the Noah analogy is perfect for what we're going through, because I think what that is a metaphor for raising your consciousness to
hmm
the point that when the flood comes, which means all the darkness and all the stuff that's going to kick up, you've built yourself a vessel that knows what you're watching
hmm
and knows what you're hearing and knows what's happening and is tapped in and tuned in. I think we've literally built that arc. I think that's what we've been doing for the past few years, is
Absolutely.
getting that arc nice and strong for what's coming.
And so for you, did you find that it was having to walk through the darkness was how you fortified the arc essentially and like
Yeah.
being able to get around any leaky holes or like any of those types of things that might make the arc fail when the time comes that your soul needs to be prepared. What was it like for you to navigate the density and the darkness?
So so then it flash forward to 2022, and everything went crazy for me in the same summer. Like my body, I was having major medical issues, really severe medical stuff, and needing to have an emergency surgery, and all of that was happening, and my marriage was falling apart at the same time, like in tandem with each other. And I still had very young babies, so it
Mhm.
was, and we were going through everything the country was going through. Like it was just a lot was piled on. And then I didn't even get to my post-op visit from the emergency surgery when my ex was in a lawyer's office filing for divorce behind my back. So then later in the summer, it all just came to a head, and everything. I realized what was happening, and I was literally cooking lunch for him and the kids, and I got served on my porch. Like there was no like, hey, this isn't working for me. There was no conversation. You know what I mean? It was just pulled the rug out. And so me and the kids end up with my parents. I'm recovering from surgery, all this stuff, and then that's when it like just went really dark for me. You know what I mean? As far
Mhm.
as none of my life was what I thought it was. Nothing. It a lot happened. In October of 2022, there was one particular weekend. It was the first weekend I ever spent away from my kids, and I would say that's the weekend the veil got like ripped off. That was
Yeah.
the big awakening. That's when I'll always say I awakened, was in October of 2022. But there were those trickle moments coming up to it. But that's when all of a sudden, basically, I found all these computer files that explained that I was never to my ex what I thought. My marriage was never what I thought. Nothing was ever what I thought. And from there, once your like perception gets like, holy crap, I didn't know anything, nothing was real.
Yeah.
Then you're looking around at everything, going, what else had me? You know what I mean? What else do I not
Mhm.
understand, or what else was? And that was the dark night of the soul for me. That's what started. And it was like I could only take as much as I could take every day, because you have to remain functional, and I had to remain,
Mhm.
I'm a mom, I got little kids. But it was like also this like crazy divorce case that's still going on, honestly. This custody battle, all this stuff. And I'm trying to balance this all out with all these gifts coming in, all this like, and I mean, I've fussled with God, you know what I mean? I
Yeah.
have gone to battle with the divine and been like, what are we doing? Like, have you thought this through? Like,
Like,
what is
"Can I
this?
see the script, please? Did I
Yeah.
really agree to all of this?"
Like, you have got to be kidding me,
Mm.
because I had something happen that weekend in that October of 2022, that it was like angels have to be real. There's no way
Uh-huh.
angels aren't real. And that's how I found Ashley. I literally
Mhm.
searched guardian angels on TikTok because I was like, something is happening in my life. This has to be real.
Oh, I got
This
chills.
is, yeah, this is metaphysical. You know what I mean? This is not normal. And Ashley popped up. And so
Oh.
out of like a place of complete desperation, like complete, I don't know what is happening to me. Please help. I messaged her and I was like, hey, I know you don't know me, but like, is there any way you would talk to me? Like, can we just FaceTime, or, something? Can we Zoom?
Mhm.
Whatever we're going to do, and as spirit would have it, she writes back and says, of course we can, I'd love to talk to you, whatever. And that she's been so, that's actually your spiritual bestie for anybody watching. But once I found her, I knew this was real,
Mhm.
for sure. Because I think I needed a witness, or I needed somebody to validate everything I was going through. And her and I were going through the same stuff at the same time. And I was like, okay, all right. And then it just starts. You know what I mean? Like all the layers of stuff start coming off, and you start realizing who you're not and what you were believing in that's not true. And I truly believe that divine protection is like a choice.
Yeah.
Like I decided at one point, okay, if that's real and angels are real and the divine is real and I'm tapped in, then I'm protected, period. And that has been the most calming miracle of my life, is walking through this knowing that it's not what it seems and that I'm protected no matter what. no matter what
It's
it looks
just
like.
it's so funny that Ashley is the start of your journey, and that's why I think that she is one like an angel, an earth angel.
She is.
And I tell her all the time, I said, "I never get here behind this mic without you crying in a bathtub."
Yes. Yes.
Like, I remember, like, how I thought it was so brave that she would, "Ashley, we love you. I know you're gonna listen to this one day and just, like, be crying. I love you so much." But I remember her having her little, like, towel over her chest in the bathtub, like, bad lighting because 'cause you're in a bathtub, and it's just, like, she's ugly crying, and she was saying, "This hurts. Waking up hurts. Losing your sense of self hurts." And she's like, "But be brave and put yourself out there, and, like, you never know what you're gonna find." Like, kinda long story short is what her messages would be about. And so that's when I would like, okay, here's my first TikTok. I'm going to use my real voice post. And like the first time I posted my real voice, because I was doing like the trends and the dances with my kids in 2020, like all that kind of stuff, right? But my life was changing in October and November of 2022. 2023, December was awful. And then January 2023 was my spontaneous spiritual awakening where I got cracked open. And there's not a rule book. There's not Google that you can go be like, hey, Google, what's going on? You're like, that does not exist. Like, it's going to gaslight the hell out of you and be like, oh, this is just a mythology. Da, 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 da. I'm like, I need real people. And then Ashley gave me permission. And like how is the power of a stranger. And now I have strangers, quote unquote, soul family, who reach out to me and message me and they connect with my story and what I've gone through and it's what they see in themselves and it gives them power to then go post their stories. And I just think this is how, we talk about being a ripple and this is what the ripple looks like is like my courage then gives you courage and then you give more people courage. And then
Hmm.
now here you and I are who we were crying and afraid and probably in a fetal position around the same time. Like life is never going to get better. My
Yeah.
life is over. God, why would you do this to me? And now we're feeling empowered to tell our story and like I'm not afraid of anything.
Right. And
Like,
isn't that the greatest part of this is to be
yeah.
not afraid? Like I'm literally unafraid.
Yeah.
And I used to think that the most fearless version of myself was like 16, 17-year-old Jen, like that girl, poof, she had fire, but I got my
Mhm.
fire back and I got that
Yeah.
fearlessness back and I realized I didn't lose anything. It
No.
got buried for a while for sure.
Yeah.
Um, but she's back. You know what I mean? Like once you start to call all those pieces of yourself home, you get all of that power back, which is awesome.
It is so amazing. And so how did the spiritual bestie tribe kind of start? Were you in the early days of when Ashley was seeing that and feeling that? Because I know like you, Jesse, and Ashley were like, holy crap, our visions came to life. Like this really happened. But how did that become?
So Ashley um, met Jesse right in the same like 2-week time period she met me. And her and Jesse were going to go to Costa Rica together. So they went on a retreat, like a women's retreat to Costa Rica. And they both were in higher consciousness together there. And at that point, Ashley and we didn't meet until this year, until 2025. But at the time, we were just sending voice memos back and forth, so all
Mhm.
day long, sometimes super long ones.
Mhm.
Um, she was walking through stuff that she needed me to hold space for, and I was walking through stuff that I needed her to hold space for. And she was a divorce paralegal for a long time. So she was
Mhm.
able to help me so much navigate what I was going through and what I was looking at from that perspective too.
Wow.
And then we were also just I've never met anybody like Ashley in the sense that her and I, whatever we have, our goggles, our aperture, if you will, is the same. We drive in the car and everything the same pings us. And I've never met anybody else that has a matching frequency, like quite like
Yeah.
hers. And so she thought I was going to be like a beta client for her.
Oh, yeah.
And she tells me this a lot, and I'll let her tell the whole story. But she was telling her husband one night, "I don't think Jen is a client. I think she's a friend. Like I think And it, we really did need each other. We really needed each
Yeah.
other. But then, yeah, so we had all these ideas, all this stuff, and then she actually puts. You know how she is. There's all
Mhm.
these different groups. She knows how to arrange people. She's the bridge, right? She's the
Mhm.
networker. But one of the first ones she ever put together was called Spiritual Besties, and that was me and Jesse and Sheena
Mhm.
and Ashley. And so we would just dream in there. That was the first group chat, and we would just, this is what we want, this is what we want to see, this is what we want for the world, this is what it's going to look like, this is what sisterhood should be, and Jessie at the time was I think she was called the manifesty bestie or something manifesting. And so we would always co-manifest in there and talk about what we were going to see and where we were going to be and what we were going to do and what it was going to feel like, what it was going to look like. And then we compliment each other and congratulate each other on things that hadn't happened yet because we were getting in the energy of things that had happened. And now we've seen so many of them already happen. Like it works. You know what I mean? Like we
Yeah.
especially when we're in Indianapolis
Yeah.
and we're in the backyard of that gorgeous mansion in the pool, and we're like, we've done this. We talked about this. We talked about this afternoon in that group chat. And look at us, we're here, you know.
I think that's the most beautiful segue into manifestation and the power of the mind, because the way that we women, like this divine feminine energy, is coming in so strong to change the world right now.
Yes.
And like, I'm so honored to be a part of the spiritual bestie group because I was like, please take me in. And
Yeah.
then like you meet each other and it's like we were strangers on a Friday and we're best friends on a Sunday. Like even like on the Friday night, I'm like, "Oh, hey sister." Like you just feel it so much. And like I manifested that. I manifested that I was the healthiest, wealthiest, happiest version of myself surrounded by peace, love, and positivity. Now, when I started saying that in July of 2022, I was anything but those things, right?
Yes. Agreed.
And like my marriage was almost falling apart. Like we ended up going to Italy on a random, like I found this TikTok person like I can't remember her name right now, but she was just like a random travel agent. And I was like, I'm going to trust fall and give you my money and you plan my most beautiful vacation. And, you know, me and Cole were on the brink of divorce. Like, I was like, you don't understand me. You're never going to understand me. I don't understand myself. And then 2 days later, we were on a trip to Italy. I was like, well, this is a crapshoot. This is a really big trust fall right now. I'm like, it's going to go great for 2 weeks with children or not great with 2 weeks for children, all in the same room. And then we fell back in love. And like when I got space away from my everyday here in America, like I was able to finally like experience my husband and my children in a stress-free way that made me feel so grateful and surrounded by love. And then when I came back, a lot of other things in my life started falling apart. And I was like, but I needed my foundation to be strong. And my husband and my children were my foundation that I signed up for, that I could have that. And so I didn't always have positive people cheering me on consistently. And then
Yeah.
now that I found you guys, like the way that you just even say, like, I'm so proud of you for doing this because you know how scary this is.
Yeah.
And like the level of work it takes to do something like this every single week. Like I feel supported by women who I just knew through a screen on my phone. Like I never
Yeah.
thought that that was possible. I manifested this joy. I manifested this love, but it
Yeah,
came in
well, I
friendship. It came
think
in
it's
friendship.
both. I think we manifested it. We chose it for ourselves, but I also think there's so much divine orchestration that brought us
Oh
all
yeah.
together. And I think a big part of that is Ashley's energy.
Yeah.
You know, she had this dream, she gunned for it, and you know, this doesn't happen without her. You and I wouldn't have met. You know what I mean?
No.
Like it. I, but I think that that's following that voice. It's following the nudges. It's finding the others. It's, you know, going where spirit leads, even when we look like we're completely lost the plot. You know what I mean? But it's so important to just lean in, you know, because
Yeah.
there's so much waiting for us on the other side of the darkness.
So what were some practices that you started using along the way, learning from different people, different creators, or just different mentors that started helping you to kind of course correct into your highest timeline?
Okay, so at the very beginning of the journey, like 2022, I had part of that emergency surgery I was talking about. I had a huge blood loss, so I was extremely
Mm.
anemic. And with that, and with everything falling apart in my life, I was going through like nervous system complete saturation. So I had tremors constantly. I was always shaking. I was never sleeping. I went to a doctor that I trusted very much that delivered my son, and I explained what was going on. And he said, listen, I can treat your symptoms. I can stop the shaking. I can get you sleeping. I can get you, you know, but he's like, you have to solve the core of this. He's like, medications is not the answer. There is an answer. You need to find it, but I will help you get there, you know? And so I started pursuing everything outside of medication, everything that I thought would help my nervous system. And somebody told me very early in that, and when I say somebody, it could have been a TikTok video, like, you know what I mean? There's
Yeah.
so many influences and stuff I was going after at the time, but said, "Hey, if the birds are chirping, nothing is wrong, because the birds would be the first to know if there's anything to be scared of." So I literally, that was
Oh,
like
wow.
a big thing for me, as I would sit outside and I would make myself listen, and the birds are fine, I'm fine. The birds are fine, I am fine. And
Yeah.
like breath work and breathing exercises and stuff like that. And then I found a really powerful sound healer. So I would go to sound baths, and I started to really get into sound bath, and that kind of energy. I have this is all back in my hometown, but I have a really gifted massage therapist, and she would do cranial release massages on me because I had a lot of trouble with headaches and that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden, all this was blending in, and I was understanding energy, and I was understanding how emotion was just trapped and locked in my body. And so I just kept pursuing stuff like that. And then I started guided meditation. And early on, like right when I met Ashley, within a couple months, I met Heather. I don't know if you know who Heather is.
I don't
She
know.
is also really powerful, and she helped me a lot, and she did a QHHT session with me. Like, I just kept expanding my mind into what was possible for
Mhm.
healing, and it became so expansive for me. It was like the more I experimented, the more I wanted to know, and the more I did, the
Yeah.
more opportunities I got, because that's how spirit works, right? You start and you will be led to all these experiences and all these people, and I just kept leaning in and leaning in and leaning in, and eventually it didn't even take that long. I think 6 months later, I never took another medication for anything. I didn't need it.
Yeah.
Everything was healing, and everything was feeling better, and everything was moving better. And then I just kept convincing myself until I knew that I'm safe. I'm divinely protected. I'm supposed to be here. And this is supposed to be hard because I'm supposed to go first, and, all the things. But then
Mhm.
I started to find all of you. And then um, I don't even think I knew what I was getting myself into in Indy. Because
Yeah.
I think
Sorry.
I think I was coming in thinking, because I don't know if you remember that one. I was like a last minute ad. I didn't think I could come because I didn't know if my
I
kids were
remember.
covered or whatever.
Yeah.
So I did not mentally prepare for Indy at all. I didn't think I was going to be there. So I'm driving there thinking, oh, we're just a bunch of girls going to have a great time, which is always true. But like the amount of healing that I did in that weekend, and the amount of release I did, like, and that's the piece that you can't really prepare people for, is how that all of that frequency and energy is going to feel in one place, because
Mhm.
it's profoundly healing, but it moves a lot of energy, and it brings a lot of stuff up. And like, so I think that even caught me off guard, but I will never be the same after Indy profoundly changed me. Like, it was very good. Even though I had to sob in rooms in front of people, you know what I mean? Which was a deep fear at that time. And I didn't want to do it, but like, it, that's how you get it out.
Oh, I have like full chills because I'm remembering it and I've never really gotten to talk to you about it since because so much has happened. Like life moves so fast when you come back and then you're integrating after a spiritual bestie weekend. And then you're just like, you sometimes go back into the trenches. You're like, oh God, I thought I healed from this, but it just like brings more layers. And so we haven't really gotten a chance to recap. I know that I've been after Indy in some fetal positions of severe pain and crying, and you've helped me on the other side of it. So it's like this give and the take, right? There's no one better than the other. We're all just this like holding this frequency of love
Yeah.
and authenticity. And I need to tell you thank you
Oh,
because working with you that weekend showed me what I could do and what I was
well,
capable of because I had never gotten to really practice it. And like each of you allowed me to bring my tuning forks into that space. And it was like all of a sudden I had my magic wands and I was doing Reiki and I was like helping with regulation. And I remember like it felt like this building energy was happening and I didn't know what it was going to go down when it first started. Like, you're like, hey, can you do tuning forks on me? I was like, yeah, girl, come on. Let's just go be cute in the other room.
right. Like, no big
Like,
deal.
la la la. Here's some tuning forks. And it starts off, here's some, like very calming, energy. And then I was like, I start getting downloads and they're like, push her. And I'm like, I like her. She's sweet. I don't want to push her. She seems like a really nice lady that I just met. I don't want to hurt her. Emotionally, hurt her.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, go hard. And the way that I went with you with the tuning forks, I've still never done to anybody to that degree before. But they told me she has so much trapped inside. You had to move it up and out. And I'll never forget, like when I was on your heart chakra and I could just feel this mother wound. And it was like, oh, I got chills. Whew. Um, they were telling me spirit was guiding me and what to say. Do you remember when we were kind of like chanting almost in that room?
Mm,
And I was like, your children are safe. We are safe. Our children are safe. We are safe. And then people could hear you crying and they came in the room. And so then the
mhm,
room filled with other energy healers and just like love was there. Whole people were holding the space and grounding us as we were rising up in the energy. And I remember just like gonging the crap out of your heart chakra. And then you just go, and then you just start crying. And it was this tsunami of emotions. And
yeah,
I didn't feel bad at all because I knew I had to. And I was so guided. And it was like this crescendo was just rising, rising in the whole room. It was getting louder and louder in the chanting, and you were sobbing. And then all of a sudden, I could feel it like I was grounding it back down into your root. And I then like I lowered my voice and I was like, "You are safe. Your children are safe." And it was like this closing finality of it wasn't just about you and your children. It was about women and women's children. It was about
mhm.
earth and earth's children and God's children. And I was just like, "What did I just do?" And you came out different. Like
Yeah, profoundly
we were
different.
all working. It wasn't just me. We were all working, but it was like this in this moment that I will never forget was like
Mhm,
being trusted that much with your nervous system and with your pain and the stored emotion, trapped emotion to be that conduit that got it. And we did it a couple of times that weekend. It was just up and out, up and
mhm.
out. What was that like for you?
So the way that week happened, so Monday of that week, before we went to Indy, Tina did a tap in tune in on me because Heather asked her to. And a whole bunch of stuff kicked up after that. Tina is so powerful.
So powerful.
But I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. Like I was listening to her tune in and I was sobbing. And then the next day I'm like, Tina, I am so sick. And she's like, yeah, that happened.
Yeah, happened to me too after her tapping with me. I was like,
And
"Oh."
I'm like, okay. And then I end up in India, of course, because as Spirit would. And then so we had the cacao ceremony. Remember the
Yeah.
cacao ceremony? And I just literally think I'm there to observe and have some hot cocoa. You know what I mean? Like I'm not expecting anything. And I I don't want to say I've always been side-eyeing spiritual stuff, but I to some extent I was until that weekend a little bit. You know what I mean? Because I was
Mhm.
like, do we really need the cacao? Do you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
love it for us, but like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not
Is this
really
necessary?
understanding the power of things, you know?
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting there and I'm drinking it, and then Loma comes over
Oh,
and
Loma.
she like, I don't know, she put me in this hug and she was like, you can give it to me. You don't have to hold it anymore. This has been a lot to carry. You don't have to hold this anymore. And I'm like, that something unlocked. So that happened. I sobbed during the cacao ceremony. Remember, I was like, "What was in
Yep.
that hot chocolate? Like, what's happening to me?"
Yep.
And then I had this hug with Danny that weekend. That like
Oh my God,
I
Danny's hug.
literally felt something between our heart spaces, like
Yep. Me too.
this really strong magnet feeling.
Mhm.
That happened, and then I end up in the bedroom doing tuning forks with you, and then I the way I that felt to me was that my channel got opened enough and things were flowing enough that I started grieving for not just me and my
No.
experience and my children. I was grieving for the collective.
Yeah.
It was pouring through me and I was transmuting it for, like you said, the mother wound, like the
Mhm.
divine feminine wound we all have for not being protected well and not being taken care of and not being honored the way we should be. And for being scared and for feeling unsafe and
Mhm.
for worrying about our kids because of the worlds we see, you know? And
Yeah.
so it was like every time we would strike this certain frequency, my body would just take it for the team and do it. And yeah, there was a lot of that weekend, but I came out of that weekend forever changed. Like just
Yeah.
forever, so much less fear, so much lighter, so much more willing to speak, so much less afraid that, you know what I mean, to use my voice and to use my stories and to turn all of that pain into purpose and power, you
Yeah.
know, and yeah, it was a big weekend for me.
Oh, it was
So it's
so
never just
cool.
hanging out with the ladies. Like
No.
that's what the videos look like, you know, like we're just chilling out and having a great time together. And there's a lot of that, but there is such deep, profound healing that happens. And I think the ripple effect that we're talking about is so beyond what we can even imagine.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
when you get that many powerful women together, grieving and moving energy and stuff, who knows what it's actually rippling out like into the quantum, you know?
You know what's so crazy is, like, when I walk into that space, I only know usually like, well, and when I went to Utah, when I went to Salt Lake City, the only person I think I'd seen Brittany Renee on TikTok, but I'd never talked to her. And I was seeing and talking with Ashley, but I like really hadn't seen a whole lot of people. I hadn't seen Kristen, I hadn't seen Alex, but I hadn't seen any of these people, like Tony, I hadn't seen anybody. And then I get there and I'm immediately like, "Oh, I love you." And that weekend was transformative for me. A lot of darkness. We've talked about this in Kristen's episode. The darkness comes out of me and it's a very like activating weekend for everybody. And then comes Indy for us. And I met everybody and I was like, I felt like a golden retriever, like that was jumping around on its hind legs, like, "Oh my God, I found my people. I found my people. I found my people." I was such a spaz for a while because I was like, I get to just be me. I don't have to have a mask on. I get to just be like happy and real. And we get to talk about deep spiritual stuff and not how's the weather and how's your job. Cause I love you, but I don't really care. I
Yeah,
really want to know how's your soul? How's your spirit? And like that space is created for that. And you can't be prepared for it. You truly cannot be prepared for walking into an entire weekend with spiritually awakened sovereign souls who are here to change the world.
right.
And not every weekend is the same. Like some, Michigan was completely different than Indy. And I think every single weekend is different, but just as powerful and activating for everybody that goes in there. And
Yeah.
I'm so honored to know you and to have gotten to meet you finally, because I'd already heard about you. I had heard
Oh,
that you were fabulous, and then to see your heart and feel your heart, and, like, you do feel like a mother. You do feel like, and it's not age, it's not that, it's energy, it's love, and I don't know, like, if we just before we, like, did a back dive into the earth from heaven, we're like, "Here's what we're gonna do, forget everything." If we were like, "Okay, I'm gonna be the heart, I'm gonna be the words, I'm gonna be this or that," like, if we each designate ourselves as a role, but your role feels very firmly protector of children, protector of women, and like a safe haven to land.
thank you. Yeah. That's what I've realized my purpose is I'm the safety. I'm the home frequency. You know, I'm the unconditional love, everybody's mama, come here for a hug
Mm,
frequency. And I've carried it my whole life, but you don't know it's a superpower until you get a little further along and see how people respond to you. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And yeah, so thank you for recognizing that in me because
absolutely.
it's something I'm super proud of, you know, but for a long time you think, why do I love this deeply? You know what I mean? It feels like a curse until you realize it's the biggest miracle there is, you know.
Yeah,
And
but
yeah, these weekends, like you said, that golden retriever, like just being safe and just being able to be yourself, that's a big deal. And you came into your gifts. I didn't know you before that weekend, but
at
I
all?
know because you told me that you came into your gifts a lot that weekend. And I think that's so cool that you got the opportunity to really see who you were because you are powerful. Like
Thank
you are
you.
a powerful healer.
Thank
Like,
you.
and yeah, yeah, we are changed. We've already changed so many things and we're just going to keep going. And this sisterhood's just going to keep growing. And you know what I mean? The things that we're going to accomplish as a network is going to be mind
Oh,
blowing.
absolutely. And I think it's you and I can probably really relate on this too, is that there was this period of time that we had to go into kind of hermit mode and protect
Mhm.
ourselves because of legal things that we go through, that we are going through still actively. I'm going through it. And my words being used against me are twisted or personifying that I'm crazy or those kinds of things. When I'm just awake, I'm very lucid, I'm very kind, and I'm very loving. I'm just very, very much awake and I see through the illusion, and not everyone can or has yet. And there was this deep rooted fear for me growing up that I was afraid of getting in trouble, right? I'm afraid of
Mhm.
getting in trouble. And then every time that I would speak my truth and share my videos, those were then now evidence A, evidence exhibit B of, well, you said this on your podcast. And I think that that did stop me for a long time of starting this podcast. But after Indianapolis and after the tribe of the spiritual bestie group, you guys gave me the confidence to not care because I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm just speaking my truth and providing a platform for other people to tell their truth too. And so it's just again a ripple. Like your role in my life is such a ripple because you made me not feel afraid anymore.
I spoke to that a little bit in, Michigan when we had the Michigan weekend because my going through what I'm going through and having the experiences I'm having, and my mom is just kind of curiously on the perimeter, like, "Hey, what are you doing?" Or, "How do you know those girls?" Or, "What are you doing on these weekends?" Or, "What this?" And so my mom and I really started to have some very deep conversations about her own experiences and her own
Mhm.
spirituality and what she's tapped into and what she's aware of. And her level of fear is profound, you know? And so we ended up talking about it after, or no, right before Michigan. And my mom has an eye that is two different colors. One of her eyes is two different colors. And she said when she was young, a doctor told her that that was a witch eye and that if she had been born in a different time, they would have burned her at the stake for that eye. So my mom said, I've always been really quiet about what I know and what I've tapped into and this and that because I don't want to be associated with that. I don't want any trouble. I don't want this or that. And so my mom never had a sense of community. She never had anybody to talk to about any of this. And I was saying that in Michigan that I'm so profoundly grateful that we are in a time where we have each other and we can talk about really incredible things and really supernatural things that have happened and gone on and we have each other to witness and validate those experiences because I think about the generations that came before us and how they were deep in hiding and how they couldn't necessarily be um, open with who they are, you know. And there's a lot of deep healers in my lineage that I'm aware of, you know, but I wonder how much fear they walked in for the fact that they didn't have a sisterhood to lean on, you know? And I think that's incredible for us that we're not afraid anymore and that
Oh
we're
yeah.
joining forces, that we're talking about it. And what's funny to me is now I'll listen to like evangelical stuff or super Christian stuff or whatever. And I'm like, why do we think we sound on the fringe? Do you know what I
Oh,
mean?
yeah.
Like the stuff that everybody's talking about, it's like,
Like, well,
and
that's
we're talking about like unity consciousness and loving each other and the fact that there's a spiritual realm. You know what I mean? Like, why were we afraid? I don't know. Now I don't feel afraid anymore, but
yeah.
I
And
sure
then
did for a
I
while.
I know, and, like, I know that I'm not gonna say it the exact right way because, like, I don't identify with religion at all, but when you look at sacred texts, you look at the Bible, and the Bible, it says, like, you will not battle against just energies of flesh and blood. You will battle against principalities of supernatural order, and I'm like, "Check, check. I've been there." Like, ask anyone who was in Utah, like, that was interesting, and, like, the experiences that I've walked through with my children, my husband, and my friends and my family, and they've seen things. And it's like, yes, this is a spiritual warfare that we are walking through, but it's emotional, it's mental, it's what is stored in your body. The body does keep the score. I didn't have the exact situation as you, but my hands were turning white. My body was shaking. I was collapsing. I couldn't walk. And then I did. I had an EKG. I guess I had double pneumonia and the flu in the similar window. But then after that, like, there was not a physiological reason why. And then the day that I had severe chest pain, Spirit was telling me I was fine. I was just integrating light. And I was like, it hurts like a mother. And you're like, yeah, no, it's going to hurt real bad. And then I go and I get an EKG and a CT scan and a huge bill from Methodist, and they don't even let me go back into there to get pain relief. I'm sitting in the lobby and I got a huge $1,700 bill for what? For you to tell me there's nothing. And then Spirit's like, we told you you'd be fine, but it did kind of feel like a heart attack. And it wasn't. Like,
Yeah.
this energy is so powerful when you're integrating it into the physical body. Like, I just don't think people understand
No.
ascension means like you're activating your crystalline light body that lives within. You have the bioelectric field around you, which we talk about healing on this channel. And then you're elevating with the solar energy that's hitting the earth. And like, this is just happening. Have you experienced a lot of the physical like things that I have and other people have as well?
Yeah, I have, and it can feel really scary if you don't know what's going on, and if
Mhm.
you don't have those touch point people to reach out to and be like, "Hey, this is what I'm going through. What do you think?" Um, because it's first you have all the purging, which comes with getting all that stored emotion out of your body, and then you do have the light coming in and the healing coming in, and between the 2, I still there are times when I'm shaking, you know what I mean? I still
Mhm.
go through the shakes, I go through the, like, um, spinal stuff a lot, where there's
The
energy climbing.
kundalini
Yeah,
climbing, yeah.
kundalini stuff and whatever, um, but it's so calming to me to know what it is now,
Mhm.
because now when you don't have the fear that's gonna start attaching a story and needing to explain why it's happening, if you just lay down, sit down, get comfortable, and let it, like, just receive it, I think it goes a lot easier.
Oh,
But
yeah.
when you don't know to do that, when you don't know to surrender, it is really scary. Yeah.
So I don't know if you experience it in the same way as me, but I think that this is I'm gonna have her on in person. But my very close friend Ashton, she's also an occupational therapist and an assistant, and she does cranial sacral and Reiki and that kind of stuff. And she's like, she's very, very powerful. She's just learning her stuff still. I'm so excited for what she does next. But I was with her at our own little spiritual bestie weekend here in Houston. It was a staycation with me and a couple of my friends, and we were all kind of going through things. And I remember at one point, like everyone's body was vibrating, and I said, "The energy is rising, you can ask spirit to turn it down." And so their bodies like literally physically vibrating. They felt cold, like they wanted to go get blankets. And I said, take a deep breath in and just relax into it and say, turn the volume down. And they intentionally said, turn the volume down. And the energy turned off and their body stopped shaking. And I was like,
Mhm.
see? And they're like, what just happened? I said, well, it's energy and intention, and you're communicating with the conscious field. And then after everyone went to bed, because it was a really powerful night, it was really exciting. Some channeling and all that kind of stuff going on. Ashton, I guess, heard me or felt me go outside. Like I was as quiet as a mouse. I was trying to. I'm sure the door went beep beep beep. But I'm outside. She comes and she sees me, and I'm like laying in the grass trying to ground it because I could feel it rising in my body. And I was in a V, literally like boat pose, and I was like my arms out like a Christ in position. I was like, ah, getting hit by light, and I'd fall, and I'd get hit, and she goes, should we call 911?" And I said, "No, give me 10 to 15 minutes. It'll pass. I'm activating light energy from tonight." It was a lot. And then I said, "Just hold my hand and just pray with me." And she held my hand. And then over and over again, I'd go into a full boat pose, and then I'd go flat, and I'd go and I'd hold the boat. And I do not have the core strength to be able to hold the boat pose for more than 10 seconds. And so that's how you know it wasn't me. But I feel it, and it goes straight into my heart space, and it's activating, and it's beautiful. It kinda hurts a little bit, but afterwards, I'm like, "All right, I'm done." It's almost like charging my battery back up, right? Because I just
Yeah.
gave a lot of energy away to teach them and show them what was real, and then we just went back inside, and I was like, "Hey, so what was that like for you?" She was like, "That was crazy." With her cute little Southern accent. And she's like, "But I was worried about you. Are you okay?" I'm like, "No, I'm okay. Are you okay?" She's like, "That was a lot to watch, but I'm okay now. It's as long as you're okay." And so it's such a physical experience when you're walking through this, and it's not really talked about.
No,
It
it's so somatic, and I don't think we have any idea, um, what our bodies are, what they're capable of, how they should have been dealt with our whole lives.
Mhm.
I'm actually developing something, I'm calling it the Audacity Academy, but
Ooh.
I'm creating it for girls from probably like 8 to 15 to deep dive what our bodies actually are, what are they capable of, what our cycles actually are, what it looks like for us emotionally, what being a divine feminine is, what energy exchanges look like, all that kind of stuff, because I do not think we were adequately prepared in any
No.
way for what our bodies are and what they're capable of and what we're doing here, you know?
Jen,
So,
that's amazing.
yeah, I'm excited about it. I've been doing a lot with it, and I don't know what it looks like yet. I don't know if it's a workbook or a podcast or maybe both, or I'm not
Yeah.
sure yet, but somehow I plan to get in front of the girls of this country and start teaching them about their bodies and teaching them who we really are, you know what I mean? And get things easier for them going forward.
I stand behind you 100%, and let me know how I can ever support you and elevate you in that way because we have been dismissed and lied to, especially as a female. Like the
Hmm.
way that research for medicine is not around as around females. Psychological services are not around females. Everything, all these studies and medicines, everything is done around men. And it's
Hmm.
like, how is that going to affect the female body? I don't know. I mean, it just works for this guy over here. I'm like, but my body has different set of hormones. Like, why would I do the same exact things as a man? And that's just the physiological side, but let alone like the spiritual side. And women take on the nurturing role. We take on such an emotional role. I don't want to call it baggage, but sometimes it can feel like baggage when you're carrying everyone's stuff and you can't carry for yourself.
Yeah, and
Like,
it shouldn't be this way. There should be balance. We should be protected. We should be
yeah,
supported. This should be so different. The mothers should be centered.
yes,
Mothers are creators. Literally, we are the creators, and we should be central to the whole thing. And
yeah,
like the way the system is designed right now is not serving us. It's
no,
just not, and we have to do it differently. And but I think the reason that I'm creating the Audacity Academy is because we have to center sovereignty. Women need to understand what sovereignty is
hmm,
and how to stand on their own power and their own truth and make decisions about their own bodies and be informed, because we don't have the research to back up. Um, but our intuition, man, our intuition and our discernment, if we get that sharp in those girls, they're going to change the whole world. We're going to have all the research we need. You know what I mean? We'll figure it all out. But women can't be, you know what I mean, suppressed the way we have been.
no, not
We
anymore.
have to, I really think, get in there while they're young and developing and show them what sovereign queenship looks like. And you know what I
Yes.
mean?
Sovereign queenship. Oh my
Yeah.
God. I want that on a bumper sticker. Like, if you just think about how many times throughout history, moments throughout history, women have been attacked, women have been oppressed, women have made to been like the Salem witch trials and beyond. Like we have been marginalized, we have been dismissed as being crazy. Like it's just all in our head that I have pain. Now, is it a multifactorial reason why I might have pain? Yes, but it's not all in my head.
No,
And on top of that, our voices have been silenced. Our wisdom has been ripped away from us. And we were told that don't be too loud, be ladylike, be polite, right? Don't cause a scene versus I'm standing in my sovereign power. And if you do not like it, you do not have to observe this energy or be around this energy, but I'm not turning my energy off anymore.
exactly.
That
Sovereign
is
queen.
sovereign queenship right
Yes.
there.
Yeah. But really, like living my life in a bigger body, that means a lot of things too. And then you go for a sore throat and they're like, have you thought about your weight? And it's like, now that I'm awake and looking back on all that, I'm like, why didn't anybody say you've been in perpetual survival mode your entire life? So your
Hmm.
body feels like you've been chased by a tiger your whole
Hmm.
life and never took the time to release anything.
So you
Like,
can't.
how do we make your nervous system feel safe? That's the key. That's
And
when
that's what
things
I'm
start
doing.
moving. That's when things start releasing. But doctors aren't taught that. That's not what their thought
No.
is. It's calories in, calories out. It's like, no, it's not. Not if somebody does not feel fundamentally safe.
Right.
Safety is the core wound that we need to fix inside of everyone.
Your body will hold on to, including mine, your body will hold on to fear in a way to protect you. And that's like, okay, well, you might not get your next meal because historically, if you lived in
Hmm.
fear, that meant there was, predators on the prowl nearby and you can't leave that cave. You have to store that sugar, you have to store that fat, let alone all the processed chemicals and all the things that we're
Yeah.
exposed to and poisons. But like we live in such a heightened cortisol state that it's
Yes.
impossible for us to feel like we're not going to be able to lose weight. Like I'm never going to lose weight if I'm just always in stress, I'm always in fight or flight, or I don't have time because the society makes me go back to work as soon as I have a baby. I don't even get to nurture that baby. Like,
Right.
what are we doing? What are we doing? Why do we treat our women, our mothers this way? Like every single person alive has a mother. Why do we treat mothers this way, especially in America?
Yeah. So Kaylana was a preemie. And so my short term disability or whatever it was I was on ran out while she was still in the NICU. So they wanted me to go back to work before my daughter was even released from the hospital. That's insane. Like,
No.
I quit my job, you know? It's like,
Yeah.
no, I can't do
Yeah.
that. I'm gonna be with my baby, you know?
Yeah.
And the way this country has organized around mothers is not okay, and we need to
It's
fix it.
wrong.
And that's what we're
It's
here for.
wrong. Yeah, I think that's
And we're
like,
all
all right,
finding each other,
Mama
and we're gonna
Jimmy.
fix it.
Mama Jimmy and
Mama
the
Jimmy's
Audacity
coming for the
Macaque.
world. Like Mama Jimmy's coming for every mama, every baby, everybody.
Everyone needs a Mama Jimmy in their life. Like, come
Yeah,
on. It's like this protector energy. And I just, that's why I said, and
yeah,
I opened this up with, all right, today we're going to learn about heart and we're going to learn about the mother wound
yeah,
because this is what it is.
yeah.
This
And
is what we're
the
walking
mother
through.
wound, it runs deep, and
Mhm.
all the anger we have, all of it is righteous anger. We are
Mhm.
allowed to be mad, but I think we take that and we turn it into the vehicles that are going to change it for the women coming behind us. And I
Absolutely.
spend a lot of time with my nieces. My daughter's just a smidge young yet. I mean, I do what I can with my own kids, but my nieces are a little bit older and they're in that age range I was talking about, and they give me ideas and what they need to know about and whatever. And I'm guiding them through queen energy, man. Like let's step up because you should be treated better than we were,
Yeah,
and this should
absolutely.
we need to get this changed. And we are.
Yeah.
One of my nieces just told me, she said she had her, I don't know if I should say that. She might watch this, but she had her first kiss. I don't think she'd care that I told you that. But she said, Auntie, he gives me a gift on the first day of my period. And I was like, he what? I'm like, all right. that's
All right, queen.
that's some queen energy right there.
Like, hi, new generation of boys and
Yes.
girls. This is
I was
what we
like,
should
all right,
demand.
man. Stand up.
Yes. Like the teens are showing the way for the men for how I'm like, all right, come on. Can you act like one of them now?
Here's
Like, I'm
hoping,
thankful that I have the best husband ever, but not everyone does. And it's like, we have got to change how we treat each other, fundamentally treat each other and accept and love each other. Like, this is all it comes down to is when I love you enough, I want you to have everything that you need. I want you to have food. I want you to have water. I want you to have clothes. I want you to have shelter. I want you to have healthcare. I want you to have a high quality life and I want you to travel and live.
Yeah.
That's what every person should be pushing for right now for every person, including yourself,
We
versus
all rise by lifting each other.
yes, versus this
Yeah.
like, I get better when I stand on someone else. Like, no, all done. That's all done. That's the old patriarchy paradigm. This is the matriarchy paradigm that we're stepping
Yes.
into. And these beautiful, beautiful, successful civilizations who had matriarchy, like we have a lot to learn. They were I felt like it's not better or worse. The energy of a mother, the energy of a divine feminine is just nurturing. It
Yeah.
is balance. Like who takes care of most households? It's usually the mother because they
Yes.
usually can compartmentalize and okay, I'm handling your emotional needs, I'm handling the financial needs, I'm handling this and this, like all the physical needs, who's making the lunches, like all those things. I have an amazing husband who helps me with those because I work a lot of hours. But mothers are entrusted with these things in households, yet we're not entrusted with them at a CEO table? Like,
Well, we need it
what?
just so balanced because the fact that mothers are trusted with that much, it hasn't been trust that put us there. Do you know what
Mhm.
I mean? It's been a lack of stepping up and surrounding mothers with help. And we should have hope. We should have community. We should not feel
Community.
like we're doing this alone. Those kids, our kids, are the future. Like,
Mhm.
we should be protecting that with everything we have culturally, and we
Mhm.
don't.
Right.
And that has to change. We have to rally around mothers and their kids because that's how we change it. That's how we're going to walk right into a new earth is to have sovereign men that we've raised,
Mhm.
sovereign women that we've raised that know how to do the role they came in to do and to take care of each other and to make sure they both shine and they both
Yes.
thrive and they're both healthy, wealthy, wise, happy, all the things. You know what
Yes.
I mean? That's what we need. And I think that's my job. I'm gonna go after that age group and try to change things around and get at least a conversation going. And it's gonna take all of us. We know
Oh,
that,
yeah. I would
that's
love
why we
for
have the
you
community we have. But we're gonna do it. We're gonna do all the things.
I would love to get you connected with my daughter Brinley too. She's 13 and we have some really deep conversations. She's like one of the few kids awake around her and she's like, "It's so weird here, mom." And I'm like, "Yeah, I need your voice. I need to hear what you want." And then you said community and it made me like pop into my mind something I've told my husband before is I live in suburbia. right? Like I'm in
I do
Houston,
too.
but like the outskirts and the Tomball area, and I live in suburbia. And you would think that that's community, right? The only time I see my community is the community garage sale, and it's people driving their cars like to get stuff. Maybe a few members of the community at a Christmas or a Halloween event, right? Halloween is the most time I see my community. But it's like we live in these little boxes all beside each other with false light, and we're never outside. We're never mingling. We're never supporting. Hey, do you need something from the farmer's market? Let me go grab that for you. Here's my milk. Here's my sugar. Like all the things that you think of when you think of community, but we
Mhm.
have communities all over the country and they don't feel anything like a community. They feel like
Right.
isolated little boxes of individual households where people are carrying too much stress. But if we just expanded that and we opened our hearts and our minds to the fact that these group of parents, these group of mothers and aunties and uncles can help support the community, then every child is fed, every child is loved, every child is nurtured and taught the ways of the world versus some children are and some children aren't. Some households are, some households aren't. And I just think it's time to reclaim real true community as we step into
Yeah,
like
I've
building the new earth.
so many dreams about that. Like, I think it's crazy that we let our geriatric population go out so lonely and so
Mhm.
undervisited, and
Mhm.
then we have all these kids that
Yeah.
we're outsourcing childcare. That could be married so
Right.
easily. You know what I mean? We could
Oh,
definitely be
yeah.
having all these honorary grandmas and grandpas helping
Yes.
us with the babies, you know? And then in my own personal life, I have two gay best friends that when my ex did what he did, they came in and flanked each side of me and what do we need to do? And you're never going to go through any of this alone. And all of a sudden I had this family, you know, and it's unconventional, but they're the brothers I never had. And they have helped me get to this point. And they don't have kids of their own, but they help me with mine, you know, and like there's so many ways to build a family and to build community and to feed into each other and to help, you know. And I think everybody needs to break out of those boxes you're talking about. Everybody being in these
Mhm.
individual, even the fact that we all have a lawnmower blows my mind.
Mhm.
Why? Why do we all have a lawnmower, a snowblower, a this, a that, a leaf blower? Why are we not sharing? Like, what?
Yeah,
Why are we all spending our money on all the same things? Like, we could be doing this so different. There
it
could
could
be
be.
ways where we could be cutting costs and energy. And whoever loves mowing the lawn, be out there mowing the lawn. And whoever loves
Yeah.
watching the babies, be watching the babies. And whoever loves cooking, be cooking, you know?
Yeah, like, I think, like and I went to a farmer's market a few weeks back with my husband, and honestly, like, just having the awakened view and watching that and walking through it, I was like, "The whole country could be like a farmer's market. We could totally do this. This is possible. We can do this, guys. Like, everyone lock in, like, find a farmer. Let's go. You can be farming meat. You can be farming baby arugula. Like, you can be whatever it is that you're farming. If you're making your little Scottish treats, because there's an amazing, like, person here in Tomball that makes amazing Scottish treats, and it's like you're bringing culture and you're bringing diversity and you're bringing whole food and great sustenance without poisons into our bodies and nourishing our families. And like, that is what we're creating. That's what the
We can
goal
do
is.
this.
We
Yeah.
can do this. We can do this, guys. We can do this. So,
Yeah.
Jen, what do you have as our final parting, information or tip, suggestion, strategy, whatever lands best for someone who is newly awakened or beginning their awakening journey and they're not quite sure what's going on. They just feel captivated by our stories today. What advice do you have for them?
My advice would be to lean in, to trust yourself, to thine own self be true. That's very real. Like, you will learn that your body is the technology through which the divine experiences birth. And you will learn what a yes feels like, what a no feels like, what a we need to leave here right now feels like,
Yeah.
and lean into that. And then I think the other thing, I'm just going to tell a really quick story. Let's try to make it quick. But right around Christmas last year, I found my grandmother's journal, the one I was talking about that is my guardian angel. I found her journal. And of course, I found it then. And of course, I found it when I was awake. You know what I mean? And her and I share so much of the same sensibilities about life. And she's talking about how her whole life is miracles. and I'm reading it and I'm like, that sounds terrible, you know. That it was one bad thing after the next, but she's like, it's a miracle and a miracle and a miracle, which is exactly how my life has been too. So I was like, I know exactly why I'm reading this. Well, anyway, I made copies for everybody in my family, brought it to my family Christmas party, whatever. But you realize when you're awakening that there's so many different perspectives, right? And that journal of hers was old enough that when she wrote it, all she wrote about me was that my parents had a baby girl. That was it. That was the only mention of me in her journal. And she was like the most primary person to me in my life, you know? So
Yeah.
I was sitting here praying, like somewhere after Christmas, and thinking, I wonder if I was as important to her as she was to me. And I'll never know. Do you know what I mean? Because for her, I was just one of a ton of grandkids, and she had 7 kids. And you know what I mean?
Mhm.
I was just one little piece of her story. And to me, she was my safe human and my guardian angel. You know what I mean? She's so centered in my life. And I thought, I wonder if that was ever mutual. It was literally, I don't even think it was a real prayer. It was, you know what I mean? It wasn't something I was like,
Yeah.
it was just like, I wonder if she loved me the way I loved her. And I'm sitting here alone because my kids weren't with me on Valentine's Day. And I get a text message from my brother, and he's like, look what I just found. And it's a poem my grandmother wrote about me, just about me. And so no one can tell me miracles aren't real. No one can tell me they're not listening. No one can tell me they're not, you know what I mean? It's not all tapped into one another because it's all real. Like, what are the chances? And then on
What are the
Valentine's
chances?
Day, it
Yeah.
literally answers a question I had just asked. Like, how does she feel about me? And my grandma has been gone for a long time now. She died in 2009. Like, I get a poem I've never seen that she wrote about me. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's
And then
so
you're a
beautiful.
poet and you're a poet.
Yes, exactly. That's another piece of it. And that's what's so beautiful is that we are all going to have our days, especially if you're new to this, where you're going to think, I am a Looney Tune. I have lost it. Like this, because it gets really incredible when you get outside of your mind and you get into, other kinds of energies and other kinds of frequencies and stuff. You start to feel like, I have to be making this up, or. And then something like that happens, and you're like, I am not making a moment of this up. This is all real, and I am tapped in, and this is so cool. And I think that as hard as it's going to be, and for everybody it is, you have to go through some deep stuff because it's got to come up and out. But I think those moments, the like full on bawling because you can't believe how beautiful this is and how loved you are, and how all of your experience is literally a love letter you're writing to yourself
Mhm.
from the highest perspective, it's worth it. It's worth it. And you will find your soul family. We will. I didn't know how. I thought I was logging on TikTok just to laugh. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Just to watch stupid videos and laugh. And now I have all of you, and you guys are my soul family. And like, I don't know, like you can't make it up. You know what I mean? Like it's a story
Yeah.
that it's beyond what any of us could write alone, and we're writing it together, and it's so beautiful. And if you're just waking up and you're watching this, I'm so excited for you because it's about to get so cool for you. But go through the hard days and know that the beautiful ones make it all worth it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I second everything that you just said.
Yeah,
And I'm so grateful that we both came out the other side to find our light beyond the ashes to be
me
here
too.
today.
To be
So,
as a
Jen,
phoenix butterfly part of this is a pretty good place to be.
oh, yeah, I feel like a phoenix. You talk about the butterflies. You've written something about a butterfly. And like, I just feel like we're finally coming out of the cocoon and the
Hmm.
metamorphosis is complete to where we've let go of all the
Ooh,
goo. And
so
now
fun
we're
that.
just like,
Yes.
I'm a beautiful butterfly.
Yeah. Now it's time to fly. Yeah.
Now it's time to fly and get to work and have fun. It's not going to feel like work. It's just going to be like elevation from this point forward.
Yeah. I'm so proud of you. Look at you
Thanks.
doing it.
Thanks, Mama Jimmy. All
Yeah.
right. Where can everybody find you on socials and learn more about what you do?
My two main ones are TikTok and Substack. And on both of them, I'm above average Jen.
Above Average Jen. I love getting
Mm.
your emails with your new poetry, your new writings. It's just
Yeah.
so
Thank you.
inspiring. And like when I'm having a down day, I'll be like, what does Jen have to say today? Open.
Thank you.
Oh, well, I am so excited and so thankful for you guys to listen to this beautiful story for this beautiful woman and for you to be kind of a little adjacent to our spiritual bestie tribe now. Like you're getting closer and closer the more you learn. I feel like we're all becoming spiritual besties together. And
Yes.
as I always say, because I really think it's important to remember that we are one. When I heal, you heal. And when you heal, I heal. And when we all heal, we rise. We're
Yeah.
literally in this together. We've got this. Keep going.
Yep. Got it.